Hi, and welcome to Partners in Progress, a couples podcast about love, life, and well-being in your 20s with me, Elouise.
And me, Sammy.
In this podcast, we'll be discussing topics like relationships, health, well-being, spirituality, and just life. From tips and tricks to failures and falls, all while sharing our story as we try to figure out building and growing a life together in the chaos of modern-day society. We'll be coming to you every Sunday with our shares and invite some guests to share their experiences too. So grab a blanket, a cuppa, and settle in to Partners in Progress. Hello and welcome back to Partners in Progress. We are recording this literally the day before the episode comes out, so this is very last minute of us. So we're recording this Saturday morning, and it's coming out Sunday morning, because we have had a bit of a week, haven't we, love?
It has been a bit of a week. We haven't been lazy. We haven't just not been bothered. It's basically one of us has been ill. I think you were not feeling great for the first sort of half of the week, and I wasn't feeling great for the second half of the week. So one of our voices was shot at any given time until this morning, really. So it was the first time that we were like, I guess we can just about do it now. So we'll push through, and here we are, roughly pretty much 24 hours exactly before it's due to come out, which is the latest that we've ever recorded it before coming out. So nice and prepared for this week. But yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say my voice is still like rough, so I don't know if it's going to come up differently on the episode. But like, I feel like everyone has this like susceptibility, you know, like I don't know, it's always like the first thing to start up and the last thing to go when you're ill. And for me and my sister, it's always been our throat. So like growing up, I'd always used to have throat infections. And my sister had like tonsillitis, and it's just always like one of the first things that goes for me is I start feeling my throat like start aching. So my throat is aching at the moment as well. But yeah, do you have like one thing that like starts off yours?
I think it's like my throat is kind of like my 50-50 chance of like I'll actually be ill, because sometimes my throat just hurts, but the one that's like is always accurate for if I'm not going to be well is like that, like the slight sort of like stinging behind your eyes thing when when you're like really tired, even if you slept well. That's the one that's like, oh, I'm definitely in for it now, because I only ever get that sensation if I'm like definitely not going to be good for a few days. So that's my one. It's like as soon as I start feeling that, even if I wake up and I'm like, oh, I slept well, and it's like, wait, what's this feeling? I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna have to be out of action for the next few days. So yeah, I did have that a bit on sort of Thursday evening, and then Friday I was very much out of action, and then today I'm starting to come around again. So the feeling was accurate once again.
Yeah, it's funny. It feels like it's well, I don't know if we are like, because we've both been poorly, it does suggest that we are like have caught something, but at the same time, we're both, I feel like, because we do a lot together, if one of us burns out, the other one's like gonna burn out as well. So I can't really tell if we're poorly from like, I suppose it doesn't really matter, but I don't know if we're poorly
No.
from catching something, because obviously with my parents last weekend, my dad was poorly and he'd caught something off my sister. And what makes this so funny is that we all live in 3 different towns. Like we live across England. Like my sister's in Milton Keynes, my parents are in Lincolnshire, and we're here in Nottingham. And we've all managed to like interact with each other one after the other, but I feel like we haven't got what they had because they were so much like, they're so much worse than us, I feel like. But I don't know, maybe we just got a really like mild version of it because we weren't really there long, were we?
No, I mean the virus will be happy it managed to travel around the country with minimal interactions. So, but yeah, I feel like it might be the same thing, but just like you said, like it's definitely nowhere near as bad as what they've had. So, I don't know. I mean, it's also just been an extremely busy week for both of us, really, in other ways
Yeah.
anyway. So,
And I think it's the weather as well, because I think this last week it kind of went like, I had a couple of days where it went up to 15 degrees, and it's been really sunny all week, which has been lovely. But it went up to 15 degrees, then it's dropped back down to kind of like the 5 degrees margin, sometimes kind of low, especially in the like overnight. And I always think that there seems to be, everyone's always like, oh, there's something going around, but it always seems to be timed with like a bit of like abrupt changes in temperature. So I wonder, and at work this week, there's been people like off poorly as well. So I wonder if it might be linked to the temperature as well, like the kind of like do 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 kind of like high and low. Temperature, I don't know. What do you think?
I was gonna say, like, temperature's another thing that I was thinking might cause it because I always feel like when it shifts, like, 10 degrees or so in a direction fairly quickly, which I think it has the past few days, because I think it was,
Mhm.
like, 12, 13 the other day, and then today I saw frost on the ground, which means it's got to be around 1 or 2 degrees, like, when I
Mm,
went downstairs this morning, so I think with that sudden shift around when it's, like, windy spring, but we're not quite there yet,
no.
I always feel like you feel not great after that because your body's like, "Oh, it's getting warm and nice again," and then it's like, "No, just kidding," and it's like, "Wait, now I've actually gotta readjust," and that might cause something inside of you to be like, "Oh, too much, I'm just gonna give up for the day and,
Yeah.
lie down."
I definitely think I messed up it because we have some kind of seedling like tray. And when it got warm, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna put it in the conservatory." I was only planning on putting it in for a little bit, but I forgot. And then, like the next morning, it was like frosty, and they were in
Oh,
the
no.
conservatory. I was like, "Oh no, you're not ready for this!" And then like moved them back into the thing. I mean, they're not doing great at the moment. They were not in the best position, to be fair. Um, like where they are, I don't think they're getting too much sun, but it's just the first batch, isn't it? We're planning on growing quite a lot.
Yeah.
And March is a really busy month for us, actually, isn't it? I feel like my calendar is already
I
like
was gonna say it's pretty much every
full.
every weekend now is, God, yeah, I'm just quickly looking now, it's every weekend aside from one has some blue or red in it, which means we've got either you're working or we've got events happening with people.
Yeah, I definitely will be working on the one
The one
weekend
empty one, yeah.
and the Fridays that are not either as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good kind of like busy though, isn't it? Because we've got like two of my closest friends coming up this weekend, and then we've got our anniversary Peak District
Yeah,
trip,
it's gonna be very exciting.
and then a flying visit to Milton Keynes, my hometown. And then we have my mum coming up for a couple of days at the end of the month as well. So we are busy, but for like really like nice things coming up, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. So, no, it'll be nice to just be doing that, and I feel like it's better in a way to have your weekends doing fun stuff as well as, like, I mean, the free ones wouldn't necessarily be free 'cause we'd be doing things in the garden and that, but equally, it's
Mm,
nice to just get to see people and see all your friends and family and things as well, and just time
yeah.
together.
I like how we were like so ready to kind of have the garden ready for March, and we are now in March and it's nowhere near ready, is it?
No, but we've cleared out a lot of stuff that was
Yeah,
there. It looks nicer than it did.
we have made progress, but yeah, I think it's been harder than I think we kind of realised. Like, I suppose we kind of knew that, it's dark at 5 o'clock, so we can't really do much in the evenings. A lot of the tasks are kind of like two-handed, well, four-handed, I
400,
guess.
yeah.
Um, and the weekends have just filled up, and then the weekends that we haven't really had as much on, we've been like recovering from
Not
everything
feeling
else
very well,
going
yeah.
on. So now that we're kind of the days are going to be stretching out longer, I'm a bit more hopeful that we can get more done. But I'm just looking at the month and I just think like, oh, I don't know how we're gonna fit in all this garden stuff in between it all. But I think as soon as we get like the almost like the foundation, like the planters up, stuff like that, the rest will I can kind of start doing like during the daytime on my own as well.
Yeah.
Because like actually like maintaining and like growing in the garden. Like of course we want to do most of it together, but we're less struggling. But I don't know, I just feel like we're also impacted by like my work because you look like work a nice 9 to 5, but my sessions are like 3 to 6, um, kind of as a general average. And that means that I'm not back until maybe like just after 6 or half 6, and then we've got to have dinner, and then there's dark.
The evening is done, yeah.
Yeah, and we're like,
No,
okay, time to rest and chill out. Because especially as my sessions can be quite full on.
yeah.
Um, like obviously it's play work, so I'm running about a lot.
Yeah, they're more physically demanding than my job is, which is a lot more mental. So I think it's like for me, it's like, oh, doing the physical stuff can be nice, but for you, if you've just run around for like 2 hours, you don't really want to go and then put together this whole
No.
big thing after it.
I do think mine is also mental in a very different way, though, because
Yeah,
obviously I work with children with kind of lots of things going on in their lives and kind of difficulties at school, difficulties in managing life, and so we're there to also support them and have conversations and be basically switched on the whole time, because we're using play as a tool to grow confidence, grow self-esteem, grow general skill level as well, grow like ability to socialize and be confident and navigate relationships and friendships. So it's just very like you're very on the whole time. It was really weird yesterday because I literally spent like almost 2 hours making toast. So it feels really silly to be talking about like how complex my job is when like I finished work too and I was like, I don't know where the time gone. I
Yeah.
just spent 2 hours making toast.
Well, in fairness, you said the kids were very impressed with your toast making.
Yeah,
They all liked it, so
the kids were very complimentary. I didn't have any. The only time I got a complaint from the kids was when I like burnt a couple, and then my one of my like colleagues had the audacity to be shaming me for my toast making because
how
he
rude.
was he was saying that it wasn't cooked enough, and I was like, literally, multiple people have said how perfect my toast is today. So can you remove yourself? I joked that I was going to talk to HR because of his rudeness because he carried on about it as well. It was like two separate conversations, but him just being rude about my toast.
Gosh,
I know, so unbelievable. But anyway, although yes, in on paper, I am making toast.
a lot. You're doing a lot more than that, I
Yeah,
think.
what I'm also
And
doing is like I've got like three kids around me having conversations with me, asking for my opinion on things, sharing about what's going on in their lives. I'm being pulled to kind of talk to different groups of people, help them with different stuff. So although yes, it just looked like it making toast, it's actually a lot more.
quite a few extra steps.
It does feel very silly though, that is literally what I get paid to do. But there we go.
Yes, it's a good thing to get paid for, in fairness.
Yeah. So in summary, we are poorly. I make toast for a living, and we have a busy month ahead.
Yes.
Woohoo!
But yeah, following from that, we can move on to kind of continuing on from last episode, I think, is what we also wanted to do a bit today.
Mhm.
Um, as I think we ran through about half of the masterful questions I'd written down for your sort of coming out experience and being bi and what that is like. And I thought we can kind of run through the second half today as we ended up talking a lot more than I thought we would about the first ones, which is always a good thing, really.
Yeah, that sounds
Um,
good.
but yeah, my first of the second batch of questions was, what do you feel are the biggest misconceptions around being bi that are kind of out there in sort of general media and the world as a whole, I guess?
There are so many.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's tricky now because I'm just so used to like new ones coming up. It's hard to like remember all the ones that like, and especially like even over time, it's kind of changed a little bit as well.
Mm,
I do think, thankfully, bisexuals we are being seen a bit better at least, in terms of just being normal humans. But I think a lot of the misconceptions, and this is going to be like a trigger warning as well, because no one likes the misconceptions.
fair
Um,
point, yeah.
but yeah, so I think I definitely came across quite a lot in my like dating life, in terms of where I would be on like online dating things like Tinder and stuff like that, and Hinge, and there's another one that I can't remember.
Bumble.
There's quite a lot. Oh yeah, Bumble. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a cute
As
one.
someone who's never used any, I don't know all the names.
I got a 1 year relationship out of Tinder. Thank you very
There
much.
you go.
Um, but yeah, I think so often the time, I would get a lot of like, I'd match with someone, not really think like I thought I'd read their profile and stuff like that, and then I'd find out they're like one half of a couple looking for
Oh.
like a third
Oh,
person,
Jesus.
and bisexuals are assumed to be polyamorous, and what polyamorous means, um, is that polyamory has so many different like versions, but polyamory and monogamy are like the two kind of like umbrella terms.
Mm,
So monogamy is like what you'd expect. It's a relationship where there's two people involved and only two people, and there's no question about anything else. If you have any kind of relation with anyone else, then that's cheating, and so be it. Whereas polyamory, there's kind of opportunity to date multiple people in various degrees and various levels. Um, and I think because bisexuals, obviously, we are seen as being attracted to more than one gender. It's also seen that we want to date around, or we want to date loads of people at the same time. Whereas like obviously in our relationship, I'm like a monogamous bisexual person. But that was definitely something that came up a lot. And
Mm.
also the expectation that by being with one gender, I either am no longer bi and I'm either straight or gay, or I am one day going to turn around and want the other gender. And again, that's very like binary because there aren't just two genders. So firstly, that's completely flawed there. Secondly, that is like is to be bisexual is to be open to the possibility of dating different genders, but you're not lacking by being with one gender. Like it's not like because I'm dating a man, I long for a woman. Like that's not how it works at all. And that can be quite frustrating. In the same way, people will call me straight now because, or like a fake bisexual because I'm dating a man, and so I look like I'm in a straight, like heterosexual relationship, and that can be very frustrating. And it's one of the many ways that us in the bisexual community are cut out because you're allowed to be bi if you're dating a woman or like the same gender, but you're not allowed to be bi if you're dating the opposite gender.
Mm.
And and I had my own kind of internal like difficulties with that because I heard it so much, and because like I was worried about ending up with a man because I was going to no longer be allowed to call myself bisexual. And I remember being worried about going to pride events and LGBT plus events because how can I be accepted if I'm in a like heterosexual relationship, which is actually not the reality. So that could be quite difficult to kind of deal with as well. I think there's just this misconception that bisexuals, we're very like greedy, non-committal, chaotic, and kind of like a bomb about to go off. Or we're just a step on the journey to coming out as gay.
Right.
That was quite a common one growing up, because there were people that did that, which is absolutely fine. I think like sexuality is also a spectrum, so you can fluctuate and change over time. Like just because you feel one label fits for you at one point doesn't mean that label's going to always be your label, but it has been for me, and that's not really going to change for me, but for other people that has. But it is difficult when people kind of expect it to be like a phase, like something that you're going to grow out
Move
of.
past or something, yeah.
Um so yeah, it's a difficult one. And then there's also just the like misconceptions of like being in a same-sex relationship in terms of um kind of how you're going to have kids and things like that, which I've also kind of faced. So I get the hits from everyone
I
really.
was
Like
gonna say, it seems like it's from all sides in a way.
yeah, the LGBT
Uh,
plus community is like you can't be bi if you're dating a guy, and then the straight community is like we don't trust you, bi chaos. You're just waiting to come out as gay. Um, but that's not what everyone thinks. Like I will disclaim that like I don't believe that all LGBT plus people are exclusive of one because that's not how it works. And in the same way that I don't think the straight community completely disregard bisexuals, I'm just saying that there are people within both communities that can
yeah.
have damaging beliefs.
I mean, that's the point of asking about misconceptions. It doesn't mean everyone believes them. It's just there are
Absolutely
some
not.
people who might mistakenly believe them. So that's kind of what the question is, really.
Yeah, it is odd. I don't really know why, because bisexuals, they believe that you're like somehow like greedy and um like unstable, and I just don't really get like how those two are linked really. But
No.
it's tricky because I think bisexual wasn't even a word I was familiar with for a lot of my like teenhood. It was only from like seeking representation that I kind of came across the word and things like that.
Yeah. No. Well, thank you for going through them because I know it's not easy to talk about all of that sort of
Mm.
stuff. But to pivot to something that's a bit more cheerful, hopefully, as well, a bit more happy to talk about, is what your favorite rep, representations. I think I wrote representationships down, which isn't what I meant to write down.
Ooh.
Representations of by people in media, or just like
Mm.
that could be anything like books or TV shows or games,
Oh
anything.
gosh, it's so many, and it has changed like over time, I feel. So when I think I spoke about it on the last episode about when I was kind of figuring out my bisexuality. Um, I sought the likes of like Dodie and Rose and Rosie and Jess and Claude, who are like all kind of at the time were like all quite like YouTubers basically.
Mm,
And that was really amazing for me to like I think I literally said last time as well, like how their stories were so similar to experiences that I'd had. And that was really like I just felt very seen and um yeah, I mean Jess and Claude, I think they both define themselves as like gay, like lesbians. And then Rosie of Rose and Rosie is bisexual, and Dodie um had made like videos about being bisexual, like back when she was kind of a YouTuber as well as a singer songwriter. Um, and yeah, at the time, I don't really remember seeing much in the likes of like media outside of that. It was only from physically like seeking it out on YouTube that I was actually able to kind of find bisexual representation. I'm sure there was, but it was just what was most accessible to me. And um, yeah, I think I just felt very seen and valid, and it also just showed me um what like a same sex relationship could look like, and how normal it is, and how like it's not like some different in like a massive way. It's just a couple.
yeah, I think that's what YouTube is really good at, to be fair, is just letting you kind of find things that more align with you as opposed to like traditional media and things as well. Because it does
Yeah.
give you the way in to just kind of find what you want as well to an extent.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the LGBT plus community kind of took to YouTube back when like loads of people were YouTubers.
Mm.
Like it was just kind of this gold mine of lots of people because you could talk freely on there. Of course, you opened yourself up to a lot of judgment as well, but it's just so special. And I would read the comments as well of the videos and hear about other people's stories and experiences, and I felt so. It allowed me to kind of start feeling part of the community,
Mm.
and that was really important for me. And as time has gone on, there's a lot more that's kind of being seen, and a bit more varied as well. Because when I was growing up, the bisexual media, like a character being bisexual was their whole arc, and they would represent it in a very specific way, as like the kind of mysterious, like cool, you know,
Yeah.
cool they're bi, like they're cool, it's just, but also like have very like chaotic energy and stuff like that. That was kind of what you would see. Or you'd have just like a token bisexual person, but even that like was less common than like having a token lesbian or anything.
Mm.
Um, but now there's a lot more coming out and coming out. Little joke there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so nowadays I think a show that I've really loved is actually Heartstopper, like
Mm.
because obviously it's very British as well. It's like a British school. And one of the characters is like bisexual and they're figuring out their bisexuality in like the first season and and then I just feel like there's like this running joke of like the second season onwards. And they come out in their relationship because he was dating a gay boy. A gay boy? That sounds really weird, but like
Yeah.
a teenager that find themselves gay. As they started coming out, a lot of people be like, "Oh, I didn't know you were gay," and stuff like that. And he literally said the sentence, "I'm bi," actually, over and over and over and over and over, and that is so relatable. But obviously for me it would be more relatable when like I was dating like a woman because
Yeah.
they'd be like, "Oh, I didn't know you were gay," and I'm like, "I'm bi actually." Like I've said that sentence, and I'm sure loads of people have said that sentence so many times. Um,
Must
but
be
it
nice
was
to see it represented as well in that
yeah,
situation.
and there was so much that I don't know. There was so many just kind of little things, like very British things as well, like when the character kind of comes out to his mum, and they're sat with a cup of tea, um, and like she talks about it very calmly and stuff like that. It just felt so like special because it was like, yes, this is like so much of the tone of what my experience is, even though I wasn't really out. I was out at school, but only in like sixth form. So I didn't have like the being in school uniform, being bi kind of the experience, but there's definitely things I related to from it. And I think what was really great about and what's really great about these kind of stories being told now is that people get to see it. And so like you, who obviously has only known me as a proud out bisexual woman,
Mm.
you haven't seen, and I've told you about my experiences in detail, but
Yeah.
it was really nice for you, and I, like, encourage, like, my mum and people to watch it as well, just to kind of show, like, a bit of what it can be like, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I really liked about it as well, because I think I remember you watched it all in one day or something when
I
the
did.
first season came out, when I was in, when I went into the office for one day, because I think it was 2021, so it's quite a while ago.
Mhm.
So I remember I came back and I think you were, like, just crying on the bed or something at
Oh
the
my
end of
god, I
it.
was literally crying.
And I was like, "Oh my god, what happened? Are you okay?" She's like, "No, we just gotta watch this." And then I think we then spent the next 2 days, like, watching basically all of it again.
Yeah.
Um, and at the end of it, I was like, "I get it now." But no, I think it was really nice for me to be able to see that, and because it does help me. Obviously, it's not like a one to one of everything you've been through, but it's at
Mm,
least like the broad strokes, I think, from what you've said now and what you spoke to me at the time, of like a lot of moments kind of mirrored things that you'd been through, and probably
yeah.
a lot of other people have as well, who've been through that sort of coming out experience in school and things. And just the way they kind of set everything, it's like it makes it slightly more magical in certain moments, but a lot of it is very like it looks like a school that you could go
Mhm.
to. Like it could be anywhere in the UK, and you'd be like, yeah, that room could be from this
Yeah.
school. And there were like bits, especially around the playing field, that I was like, that looks really similar to my school.
Mhm.
So I think anyone who's been to school in the UK, there'll be parts of it where you're like, oh, I recognise that at least. So yeah, and I
Yeah.
think having that makes it feel more real as well when you can relate it to places and things that you've seen, even if you haven't been through it or know people at the time who've been through
Mhm.
it either. It's like still something that you can relate to.
Yeah, definitely.
So that brings us on to my last question, I think,
Mhm.
which is just a bit more of an open-ended one again. Of like, what do you wish people understood more about being bi and being in a relationship as a bi person in general? Your message to the world, if you will. No pressure.
Well, I don't think it necessarily needs to be specific to being bi, but in terms of like, I think there's an important message, I guess, for, and I'm not gonna, I can't speak for my community firstly, like I can't speak for all the bisexuals in the world or all the LGBT plus people in the world.
Yeah.
But I think what's so important is just to understand that we are literally just human. And it gets me a bit emotional, so I have to hold myself.
That's
I'm still
okay.
poorly, so it's fine.
Oh, thank you.
But what I just, you just need to accept people. Like you don't even need to necessarily like understand what someone's experience is because you haven't lived their experience. Like if you're a straight cisgendered human, you're not necessarily ever going to understand to the extent of what it is to experience being a gender that doesn't fit into the social norm, or feeling like you're like if you're a trans person and feeling like you're in the wrong body, or just being any member of the LGBT plus community. You don't need to understand it. You simply just need to treat people normally. Like you just need to
Mm,
treat them like a human and have some respect. I almost swore then, but just have some respect. Like if someone wants to use certain pronouns, just use them. It's actually, it costs you nothing, and if you mess it up, fine, but make an active effort to do better. Um, and don't make assumptions. I really wish people would just not assume any like sexual preference or gendered expectations of anyone. Like I wish that we would just see a human as a human and not assume like, oh, so if you got a girlfriend, also if you got a boyfriend, all this, like it doesn't actually affect you. Like you can just accept humans for who they are.
mm,
Um and that's the most important thing. And if you feel like that's not enough, then do your own research. Look for and do your research from people that are LGBT plus, because they are the people that know best about what their experience is. So if you need to educate yourself, then educate yourself through those medias, because we need to be seen more for who we are. And just be kind, because like I said, that doesn't cost anything to be kind, and just respect people for who they are. Um, And just because our relationship looks straight, it doesn't mean it is. But that also doesn't mean anything unworthy or different about either one of us. Like, we're just humans. We're just humans in love. Um, and there's so much going on in the world that's so hard and heavy, that we just need to there's just no point spending time putting like putting pressure and obstacles in the way of LGBT plus people and going back in time and going to like archaic methods and viewpoints. Like, you're okay, it's fine to have different opinions. I get that, but they should not cause damage to communities, and that's the problem at the moment. So, yeah, be kind and treat people like humans because we are literally humans.
I think that's very eloquently put for something that's very much just off the top of your head.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of that is very ingrained in both of us, I think. And I just want to
Mhm.
say it's not something that's just you, it's very echoed in me, but you just say it
Mm.
better than I ever can, I think. So that's why I let you say these things and I just go on the end and say ditto.
Yeah.
Um, but no, thank you very much for sharing all that because I know some of it's not easy to answer all of it, but I think it's
Mm.
important. And I always like hearing it anyway, even though we spoke about it a
Yeah.
lot.
And thank you for asking them and holding the space for us and just being a very good ally in a serious matter, not in a jokey way. Like,
Yeah.
the word ally
I feel like
has
it's
been
become
so
slightly jokey in a
humoured.
way. Yeah. But
But
no, and
allies are just like they are as so important because and as an ally, you need to step up for the people that haven't been given a voice.
mm,
So that's why allies are so important. Um, but yeah, so that was a very serious end there, but I have no regrets. Um, let's move on to our kind of well-being segment then. What has brought you joy or a well-being boost in the last week?
Final Fantasy VII
Again,
Rebirth
you've said that
again.
last week as
I
well.
did, no, but it helped a lot this week when I wasn't feeling very well.
Mm.
I just ended up playing it for basically all day, and it made me feel better and forget about being ill. And
Mm.
also, I want to say you yesterday when I wasn't feeling very well, you did all the stuff I would normally do, like making breakfast and getting food ready and all that sort of stuff, and that was very nice. I didn't have to get up in the morning when I was like, I do not want to get up, so
Yeah.
that helped me reserve my energy a bit, and I think so I'm feeling better today. So
Oh, good.
yeah. What about you?
I am just really loving the sunshine.
That's also
Like,
very
that is
nice.
just bringing it's tricky because whenever it's sunny, I feel like a lot of us Brits, especially, just want to go outside and just be like, just run away outside. Um, so it comes with a bit of like, like I should get outside, but I'm not getting outside. But regardless, like the just having the sunshine around has just brought me so much joy, and seeing the cats like soaking up the sunshine and like stretching in it and going for a little nap in the sun.
Mm.
That's just been really lovely. It's just getting me excited for the weather ahead and the chaos of spring weather.
Yes, it'll be nice to also actually have the sun. I want to piggyback on that one because it's now started not getting dark until like 6 p.m., which is
Mm,
also very nice. But also, I think gives us more time when we have it to do things as well in the garden. So I think it will
yeah.
be nice in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely the sunshine. I agree. It's made me feel more alive in the past few days as well.
Definitely. What is one thing you or I can do to support you in the week ahead?
I think it's looking at kind of like striking a balance between resting
Mm.
and then also like doing things to improve our, I was going to say our house, but our garden more accurately. Um, just as I'm aware we want to do that, and we're not necessarily where we want to be, but equally I don't feel like we've been slacking with it. So
No.
it's a weird thing of like it doesn't look how we expected it to, but it looks a lot better than it was, and we have done a lot
Mhm.
anyway. But I think just being kind on ourselves with that and not trying to force it all through, but equally not doing nothing. So
Yeah,
finding a balance basically. And I feel like
definitely.
that will kind of take both of us because sometimes I can get a bit like I just want to do it all now, and sometimes you can get like that as well. And we can
Mhm.
both be on either side of it of like the, oh, let's leave it today or like oh let's do it all. So
Yeah. So for me, like it was the new moon yesterday, so we did our little new moon journaling. So I'm kind
mm,
of, and within that, you kind of talk about like your goals for like the next 24 hours, the next week and month, etc. So I'm gonna use that basically because I need to keep it in mind.
Very nice.
Mainly, like, for the next kind of few days, I really just wanna focus on, like you said, kind of a balance, but it's balancing, recovery and, getting done what needs getting done. Like, I'm aware
Yeah.
that we have guests next weekend, well, this weekend, and we've neglected a bit of the cleaning duties from, like, just being ill and stuff, so I think that's kind of my focus, is making sure to get what Nia's doing done, but also making sure that we are prioritizing recovery, and obviously I'm working this afternoon as well, so
Yeah.
just keeping it all in mind and just keeping a very conscious awareness, of, like, my symptoms and just general sense of well-being,
Yeah.
yeah. I think this is probably gonna be the first of quite a few bit slightly chaotic episodes because, like we said, we've got a really busy March. So they might be slightly shorter episodes for the next coming weeks.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we won't be recording them like
Last
20
minute.
minutes before they come out, but
Not 20 minutes, 24
24
hours.
hours. No, I know, I
Jeez.
know.
So
Just be
rude.
dramatic.
Anyway, we will love you and leave you. Have a lovely day whenever you're listening to this, and we will see you next time.
See you then.